everybody. I'm pretty sure you thought I'd dropped off the face of the earth, huh? Well, almost, but not really. Today it's time for another installment of Walt Disney, an American Original by Bob Thomas. If you can't guess today's Disney bound, then you are no fan of David Ogden Stiers, God rest him. So we are in Unit 4, Chapter... I just looked this up to make sure I was in the right place. There's 19, there's the one I just did. All right, Unit 4, Chapter 20. The vision of an amusement park grew in Walt Disney's mind. On each trip to Europe and during his travels through the United States, he attended outdoor attractions of all kinds, zoos especially. Before leaving on another journey to Europe, Lily warned him, "Walt, if you're going to look at more zoos, I'm not going with you." He visited county fairs, state fairs, circuses, carnivals, national parks. He studied the attractions and what made them appealing, whether people seemed entertained or felt cheated. If you're watching this, Bob Chapek, read this book, then read it again. And those are my nice words. His most depressing experience was seeing Coney Island. It was so battered and tawdry, and the ride operators were so hostile that Walt felt a momentary urge to abandon the idea of an amusement park. His spirit revived when he saw Tivoli Gardens in Copenhagen. It was spotless and brightly colored and priced within reach of everyone. Chapek. The gaiety of the music, the excellence of the food and drink, the warm courtesy of the employees, everything combined for a pleasurable experience. Now this is what an amusement park should be, Walt enthused to Lily. Walt realized that he would have to provide his own financing and planning for the park, since Roy maintained his opposition. Of course he did. To Lily's dismay, he began borrowing on his life insurance. Before he finished, he was $100,000 in debt. He started assembling a staff to help in planning. Among the first to be recruited was Harper Goff, an illustrator who played with Disney animators in the Dixieland band. I can't tell if this is a misprint. The Dixieland band Firehouse 5+2. That's a mouthful. Which had created a national sensation. Walt assigned Goff to create preliminary drawings of the park. Walt continued collecting miniatures of all kinds, even animals. In Europe, he became fascinated with tiny Sardinian donkeys and shipped 4 of them to the studio. Harper Goff told him about a Shetland pony act in a horse show at the Pan Pacific Auditorium. Walt watched the ponies draw a wagon in intricate maneuvers and talked to the trainer, a retired welder named Owen Pope. Months later, Walt invited Pope and his wife Dolly to bring their ponies to the studio and start training other animals for an amusement park. In 1952, the Popes moved into a trailer under the water tower, becoming the studio's only residence. One day, Roy came down to look at the ponies and chat with the Popes. Later, Walt asked Pope, "What did you say to my brother?" Pope asked if he had offended Roy. "No, not at all," Walt said. "It's the first time I've seen him express the slightest interest in my park idea." By this time, Walt had decided on a name for the park: Disneyland. As his concepts grew, he realized that he needed an organization to help him create Disneyland, and in December of 1952, he founded Walt Disney Incorporated, with himself as president and Bill Cottrell as vice president. Later, because Roy feared that company stockholders might object to the use of the Walt Disney name, the title became W.E.D. Enterprises, the initials of Walt's name. W.E.D. was a personal corporation for Walt's activities outside the studios. He bought the rights to the Zorro stories, which had provided film vehicles for Douglas Fairbanks Sr. and Tyrone Power, and prepared 14 scripts for a television series to be produced by W.E.D. But when Walt made his presentation to the television networks, the answer was the same: you'll have to make a pilot film. "Look, I've been in the picture business for 30 years, Walt replied. "Don't you think I know how to make a film?" I wouldn't argue with him. "But this is different. This is television," he was told. Walt argued that entertainment was the same in any medium, but network thinking was inelastic. No pilot, no series. Walt set aside the Zorro project. There was plenty for W.E.D. to do in the planning of Disneyland. Richard Irvine was newly arrived at W.E.D. He had been an art director on Victory Through Air Power, then moved to 20th Century Fox when Disney production stalled during the war. Walt had invited Irvine back to help design Zorro, and later assigned him to Disneyland. One of Irvine's first duties was to act as liaison with the architectural firm of William Pereira and Charles Luckman, who were making preliminary studies of Disneyland. Walt dissolved the contract with Pereira and Luckman when their concepts failed to match his. Walt's close friend, architect Welton Beckett, advised him, "Walt, no one can design Disneyland for you. You'll have to do it yourself." Irvine was joined by another art director from 20th Century Fox, Marvin Davis. They collaborated with Harper Goff in expanding the original drawings that Goff had conceived for Disneyland. They studied the Disney feature cartoons for ideas to use in amusement park rides. They drew storyboards for the rides, and Walt contributed his storytelling talent. He described the entire Snow White ride as if it were a movie cartoon, visualizing all the park's attractions for the designers, just as he had brought cartoons to life for his animators. Walt and his planners drove to Pomona to watch how people at the Los Angeles County Fair responded to the attractions. They traveled to Knott's Berry Farm in Buena Park and measured the walkways and observed how the traffic flowed. Walt was particularly interested in the movement of people. He watched them as they walked freely from one attraction to another, then pointed out how they grew irritated when crowds jammed up. "Can someone please send this to Mr. Chapek? Please." The plans for Disneyland grew, even though Walt had not decided where it would be located. He had abandoned the idea of building it at the studio, not only because of the lack of cooperation from the city of Burbank, but because his ideas had outgrown the Riverside Drive property. He continued to pour his creativity into Disneyland and his money. When he had borrowed to the limit on his insurance policies, he sold the house that he had built at Smoke Tree Ranch in Palm Springs. Roy Disney pointed out that the company remained in debt to the Bank of America, and it was doubtful that any bank would lend for an amusement park. Walt was not discouraged. One day he remarked to Hazel George, "If I were to go outside to finance Disneyland, would you contribute?" "You bet I would," the nurse replied. "Find out how many others in the studio would do the same," Walt said. She canvassed studio workers, and most of them agreed they would be willing to invest in Disneyland. They even formed an organization, the Backers and the Boosters. Walt told Roy about it, and Roy agreed it was a good sign. He began to view Disneyland with more sympathy. Disneyland became a crusade with Walt, more so than sound cartoons, color, animated features, and all the other innovations he had pioneered. He told a reporter the reasons for his zeal. "The park means a lot to me," quote. "It's something that will never be finished, something that I can keep developing, keep plussing and adding to. It's alive. It will be a live, breathing thing that will need changes. When you wrap up a picture and turn it over to Technicolor, you're through. Snow White is a dead issue with me. I just finished a live-action picture, wrapped it up a few weeks ago. It's gone. I can't touch it. There are things in it I don't like, but I can't do anything about it. I want something live, something that would grow. The park is that. Not only can I add things, but even the trees will keep growing. I lost my place. The thing will get more beautiful year after year, and it will get better as I find out what the public likes. I can't do that with a picture. It's finished and unchangeable before I find out whether the public likes it or not," end quote. One day, Roy Disney received a telephone call from a banker friend. "Walt was in my office today," the banker said. "Oh?" Roy replied. "It's about that park. We went over the plans he showed me. You know, Roy, that park is a wonderful idea. Did Walt try to borrow money from you?" "Yes, he did. And you know what? I loaned it to him." Walt continued working quietly with his planning group, which occupied a small one-story building that had been moved to Burbank from the Hyperion studio. By the end of the summer of 1953, the money he had borrowed was running out, and he knew he would discover a way to finance the park. He found the solution while lying sleepless in bed. "Television," Walt told his brother the next morning. "That's how we'll finance the park. Television." To Roy, it was the first thing Walt had mentioned about Disneyland that had made sense. Like all major corporate decisions, this one had to face the approval of the board of directors of Walt Disney Productions. Walt usually prevailed, but the wisdom of entering two new fields, television and an amusement park, was questioned by conservative members of the board. Walt took the floor to explain his reasoning. Television was an important medium for acquainting the public with the Disney films. The 2 Christmas specials had demonstrated that. A weekly show would expend a vast amount of creative effort and money, with little or no profit except for creating bigger audiences for Disney films in the theater. "If I'm going to devote that much talent and energy to a television show, I want something new to come out of it," Walt said. "I don't want this company to stand still. We have prospered before because we have taken chances and tried new things." To board members who complained that Disney was not in the amusement park business, he replied that the company was in the entertainment business, quote, "and that's what amusement parks are." It appears we have a guest coming soon. He admitted that it was hard for them to envision Disneyland the way he could, but he assured them There's nothing like it in the entire world. I know because I've looked. Hey, Luther. Over here, little buddy. That would be Luther's tail. Hello. Yes, yes. That's why it can be great, because it will be unique, a new concept in entertainment, and I know it can be a success. When he finished, there were tears in his eyes. The members of the board were persuaded. Roy agreed to go to New York to seek a contract with a television network, but he needed something to demonstrate what Disneyland would be like. Walt and the planners of WED had worked on many designs, but there was no visualization of the park in a form to convince hard-headed businessmen. On a Saturday morning in September 1953, Dick Irving telephoned Herb Ryman, whom he had known in the art department at 20th Century Fox. Ryman had worked for Disney in the 1940s and had been on the South America trip. He had left the studio for other movie work and to pursue his own career as an artist. Irving asked Ryman if he could come to the Disney studio as soon as possible. Walt greeted him affably and told him, "Herbie, we're going to build an amusement park." "That's interesting," Ryman replied. "Where are you going to build it?" "Well, we were going to do it across the street, but now it's gotten too big. We're looking for a place. What are you going to call it?" "Disneyland." "That's as good as anything." "Look, Herbie, my brother Roy is going to New York Monday to line up financing for the park. I've got to give him plans of what we're going to do. Those businessmen don't listen to talk, you know. You've got to show them what we're going to do." "Well, where's the drawing? I'd like to see it." "You're going to make it." Walt volunteered to stay with him through the weekend, and the astonished Ryman agreed to undertake the task. He began immediately creating a schematic aerial view of the park from sketches and plans, and Walt's own word pictures of what he wanted Disneyland to look like. The design was triangular, with the public entering the park at the bottom tip of the triangle. A berm surrounded the park to keep outside views from intruding. Atop the berm traveled a small-sized railroad which afforded the customers to look at the attractions within. Main Street acted as a funnel, drawing people towards the castle at the end of the street, where a hub led to various realms. By Monday morning, Herb Ryman had completed the drawing. Copies were made, and Dick Irving and Marv Davis hastily colored them with pencils. The drawings were included in a folder with a description of the park written by Bill Walsh. For the first time, the idea of Disneyland was defined. Block quote. "The idea of Disneyland is a simple one. It will be a place for people to find happiness and knowledge. It will be a place for parents and children to share pleasant times in one another's company, a place for teachers and pupils to discover greater ways of understanding and education. Here, the older generation can recapture the nostalgia of days gone by, and the younger generation can savor the challenge of the future. Here will be the wonders of nature and man for all to see and understand. Disneyland will be based upon and dedicated to the ideals, the dreams, and the hard facts that have created America, and in it will be uniquely equipped to dramatize these dreams and facts and send them forth as a source of courage and inspiration to all the world. Disneyland will be something of a fair, an exhibition, a playground, a community center, a museum of living facts, and a showplace of beauty and magic. It will be filled with the accomplishments, the joys and hopes of the world we live in, and it will remind us and show us how to make those wonders part of our own lives. End block quote. The realms were described in detail. True Life Adventureland would feature a botanical garden with exotic fish and birds, and a ride in a colorful explorer's boat with a native guide for a cruise down the rivers of romance. The world of tomorrow would have a moving sidewalk, industrial exhibits, a diving bell, a monorail, and a freeway children could drive, shops for scientific toys, and a rocket spaceship to the moon. Lilliputian Land included an Erie Canal barge ride through the famous canals of the world, passing miniature towns with 9-inch people. Fantasyland would be located within the walls of a great medieval castle with a King Arthur carousel, Snow White ride-through, Alice in Wonderland walk-through, and Peter Pan fly-through. Frontier Country would have an authentic frontier street, stagecoach, Pony Express and mule pack rides, and a riverboat which takes you downstream on a nostalgic cruise past the romantic river towns, Tom Sawyer's birthplace, and the old southern plantations. Product of its time, folks. Product of its time. Also included was Holidayland, which would offer special attractions with the changing seasons, a one-ring circus in the summer, ice skating and bobsleds in the winter. It was a boldly extravagant proposal, but the brochure declared flatly that sometime in 1955, Walt Disney will present for the people of the world and children of all ages a new experience in entertainment. That has been Unit 4, Chapter 20 of Walt Disney, an American Original by Bob Thomas. And of course, now it's time to say goodbye to all our company. M-I-C. See you real soon. K-E-Y. Why? Because we like you. M-O-U-S-E. Take good care of yourselves, take good care of each other, and always remember, it is a small world after all.